Hello. From release 110 to finalize the consignment grouping, we've gone through and we've adjusted how groups appear on the invoice, and also we've added things like service type and to and from rate zones also within the invoice, and we've made it easier to group them and also to ungroup, and I'll show you where. So if I was to go to the More button and then down to Invoices, and if I was to grab this invoice here with the coffee roasters, and if I go onto the Consignments tab, you can see here now that we have service type actually inside the web UI. So we can see here that these two, for instance, are both general. So I can see on my group consignment here, which is the one I grouped before, it's on a general service type. I can also see it's from the zone of Carton Cloud Warehouse going to the Gold Coast North. Now, previously, we used to have to back out of the invoice, find out, for charge errors. We would back out of the invoice, have a look at the consignments, go through individual tabs and bits and pieces. This is going to make it a lot easier to go through and sort out charge errors. Another thing we can do with group consignments is if I tick this group consignment and add it to the selection, I could come down here and I could group these consignments, or I could ungroup. So for instance, if this was going to the same address, or to and from the same address and the same service type, I could add them both in here, tick them and group these consignments. Also, likewise, I could come in here, I could tick this one, remove it from the selection, and I could just go through and I could ungroup the consignment, which I've already done. Now, the benefit of that is that when we're looking at an invoice, especially the admin staff at the end of the week, they could be looking at the invoice and they could group together all these certain addresses, tick them all, add them to selection, and group the whole lot. It's just going to make it easier so when the charges go through. And like I said, a lot of the times when you're grouping a parent consignment, you actually are using sliding scales and you want to utilize, the higher list in the sliding scale, 10 plus for the cartons, like what we've seen before. So it's just a means of making your life easier when you're going through and you're updating charges manually, and when you're grouping manually. And it saves it takes away the operational grouping and the charge grouping, because that really didn't make any sense to us. If you're going to group them together, you would normally charge them together. So we've gone through and we've done a lot of work with that, and we've just tried to make it a lot easier, and so that you could come through and finalize all your charges or sort out any charge errors all in one place. The other thing we've done is, if I was to come here into the download summary, so this is the download summary from this invoice. Now, as you can see, if I have a look here, we've got our grouped consignment, and I can tell it's the group because it's G163. I know where it's from. The parent consignment has all of the transport charges on it. So it's showing me that I'm on my sliding scale for cartons over 10 at $5 each, and my pallet at 45. But it's also showing me that in this field here, I have a hand unload, which was only against one of those consignments. Now this makes sense when the driver is out on site and he actually utilizes the mobile app and adds in an ad hoc charge, and that ad hoc charge will automatically go to the parent consignment, but you still want to see that on the individual consignment. So then when your customer's looking at the charge, they can look at that and say, okay, yep, that's got a pallet on there. Yes, it was a hand unload. Yes, we didn't have our forklift that day, and they're fine to accept that charge. So those sorts of things. We're just trying to streamline as much as we can to make it easier for everybody. Cheers.